All right, so it's a little after 1 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Again, this session is being recorded just as our previous ones have, just so we have the opportunity to share with people who weren't able to join us live. We're also going to present this one just a bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and get us started, but then I'm going to turn it over to Bonnie, who's going to walk you guys through her LinkedIn profile and how she's built it out to be such a huge resource for her. So hopefully we are able to provide you guys some hands-on training today on LinkedIn specifically. And at the end, we're going to open it up. Bonnie and I talked a little bit before this, and we really would encourage anyone who wants a one-on-one session to go over LinkedIn to schedule one of those. So we'll go through all of that, and hopefully we answer any questions you have, but we'll go ahead and get started. So obviously today we're going to present on LinkedIn profile building, which is one of Bonnie's areas of expertise. So I'm really excited to be able to share this content with you guys today. So we'll introduce ourselves really quickly. My name is Brandon Aldis. I'm the coordinator of career readiness here at SUNY Adirondack. I've worked for a few different SUNY schools, including SUNY Cobleskill in Cobleskill, New York, and SUNY Empire State College in Saratoga Springs. My primary background is in agriculture, growing up on a beef farm in upstate New York, and then working heavily with the National FFA organization, American Farm Bureau, and a few others. However, I made a shift to higher education a couple of years ago, and have tried to find new and different ways to marry those two things. And I enjoy getting to do things like this. I really enjoy getting to work with students on transitions, whatever that transition may be. So whether it's from high school to college or from college into the real world, a pivot in your career, or some major change that you're working on, I enjoy getting to work with students on those opportunities. So I'm excited to be here. I just wrapped up my master's thesis in higher ed administration, so I'm around for a while. Bonnie?
And I'm Bonnie Stouffer. I'm the director of Business Central, and I've had a couple of career paths in my history. I had a career in marketing where I worked for different advertising agencies, including startup advertising agencies, and then shifted after getting my master's in leadership into a career in executive recruiting and executive coaching. And I bring that all to the table here in my role in working with entrepreneurs and our students to help them really uncover their strengths and find the best ways to use them. And so in my roles, I have used LinkedIn for many years and for several different reasons. And I'll take you through that today.
I also, for those of you who have watched a few of our presentations, finally changed my Bitmoji on this slide because I am finding that I'm drinking more and more and more coffee these days. And I think that I just live off of it. So if I could find this cup size that also kept it hot, I would be all about it. So what does today look like? What are we going to roll through in the next half hour? We're going to talk about why LinkedIn and why it's so important to have a professional profile on LinkedIn, why it's important to have it built out, and why it's important to keep it up to date. We're going to talk about building your profile overall and what those different pieces of a profile are. And we're going to talk about those components of an effective LinkedIn profile. If you have a presence on social media and you're searchable, but the content isn't updated, that's incredibly ineffective. So we're going to talk about how you have a professional picture, what the overview of LinkedIn is and what those profiles look like, and then the different subsections that you can add, take away, update, depending on where you're at and what you're looking to do. So at this point, we are actually going to shift host roles on the Zoom call. I'm going to pass everything over to Bonnie. She's going to start walking you through her tips and tricks to LinkedIn, how you actually plan it. And I just want to remind everyone that following this recording, we're going to be sharing the presentation we have built out, which has a bunch of bullet points. We'll have a tip sheet just like we've been doing afterwards, a little review sheet. And then the session is also being recorded. So if you want to be able to go back out on YouTube afterwards to be able to review any of it, or hey, Bonnie said this, where was that again? We'll be able to provide that recording so that anyone can back up the video and take another look, or you can schedule one of those one-on-one appointments. So give me just a second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to make Bonnie the host. And Bonnie, you should be able to share.
Okay, can everyone see my LinkedIn profile?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to just take you through a little bit of LinkedIn and how I use it. So why LinkedIn? This is a place for you to really create your professional brand. It enables you to highlight your strengths and accomplishments and some of the key points from your resume that would be appealing for recruiters or potential employers down the road. And it can give you a really good place to network if you build it out right. So now just to take you through a LinkedIn, my LinkedIn page, you see up here, we have the home network. So my home screen, you see new posts. So I use this daily. This is my news feed. And I have news items from the people that I'm following, the organizations I'm following, and I rely on people to give me some good content in here. And I use this for networking as well as information building for the work that I do, for developing content and for referring people to jobs. I use this for a whole host of reasons. If I were job searching, I'd use it to really look at the company, the culture, the activities a company might be undertaking on LinkedIn. But let me take you through some of these things up here. My network, you'll see any of your pending invitations. You can see how many connections. I've got over 2,300 connections. I don't have my teammates highlighted in here, but you'll see how I'm connected to groups. And this is all that feeds my news feed. So all of these contacts who are posting, the people I'm following, the groups and pages I follow, and the hashtags fuel that news feed that I just mentioned. Jobs. I have put out here that recruiter, if I were looking for a recruiting job in this area, there are 7 new jobs. So I could start following jobs that I might be interested in applying to. Okay, then we've got messaging, that's like instant messaging, and then notifications. So these are 3 things that have happened since last time I had refreshed my LinkedIn screen, different things that are happening with my contacts, and then me. So we're gonna go back to home. So on my home screen, you see over here, this is sort of my headline. I'll show you how to build one of those out. Who's viewed my profile? So if I were looking for a job and I saw that people have been looking at my profile, I might want to click through that and see who those folks are so that I could maybe message them back and network with them. So Tip Nelson had looked at my profile. He was a former client of mine. So now I'm wondering, geez, I wonder what Tip's up to these days. I might just send him a note. Views of the posts, any of the posts that I put out on LinkedIn, I get to see who's viewing and what the volume is on that. Down here, we see the groups that I'm following and the topics and organizations I'm following and who's active. On the right-hand side over here, these are all news items that have been popping. So that's how I use this for news. But let's talk about building your profile. So I'm going to just take you to my profile build and show you some of the key things that you're going to want to think about. Okay, so when you're going out there to build your profile, one of the key things you're going to want to do, if you look at my profile header up here, the URL, it has linkedin.com, the in, and then Bonnie Stouffer / So when you first get your profile, it's probably going to have some, maybe it might have your name, but some abbreviation and a bunch of numbers or letters out here, which is the code. You don't necessarily want that. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is go into your profile and build out to fix it so that you have it nice and clean here. So that's my branded LinkedIn. And it just makes it a little bit more clean so that you don't have all that gobbledygook language on it. So how do you do that? So when you get into here, you can see that you can add your headline, you can add your current position. I had already changed my LinkedIn URL up here, so I don't need to do that right now. But you would have to edit your profile URL. So you could do that down here. Here you're going to add a headline, and a headline would be your keywords. If you have attended any of our sessions previously, you know how important keywords are to your job search. And knowing what those key strengths are of yours and key elements that you would want in an ideal job, you're going to want that in your headline. So right now, my headline is reflective of the role that I'm in, and it's designed so that people who have these backgrounds are going to be able to find me, or I'm going to be able to relate to them in their posts. If they're posting and hashtagging any of these topics here, it will come up in my news feed. So this is where you're just going to add some of your tweaks, and then at the end of it, when you save it, it's going to look like that. You can share your profile or save it. When you save it to a PDF, it actually will look like a resume if you wanted to do that. So let's get into some, oh, and the other piece of the header. Here's the design element of the header. But one of the things about the photograph, having been a recruiter for 9 years, there's a lot of pros and cons to having photos. I've heard, you know, oh, that could be discriminatory on your age. It could be discriminatory on your race, or, you know, all kinds of things. But it really is important to have a professional photo. I have seen photos that people have taken literally looking like they're out night clubbing. And I don't recommend that. I would recommend just a simple professional looking photo. Nothing too flashy in the background. Sometimes the selfie can work as long as it's professional enough looking, but you want it to reflect the kind of industry that you're going to be in. And I personally don't like having my picture taken, so this was taken a while ago, so I've kept it. And then you can also change this image here to have more of a background, but that's the default image. Are there any questions on that section? No. Brandon, I love the picture, the Bitmoji images in the presentation. Okay, so in the header section, when we get into adding your profile, go into the intro. If you're looking for job opportunities, this is a great place for you to be able to click and say that you're looking for job opportunities. If I were to click on this and say, yeah, I'm looking for job opportunities, then it's going to ask me, what kind of work do I want to do? And you can put in a bunch of different titles. You can put in what job location. If you're thinking you want to move out of the area, you can put that metropolitan area in here. You can put the type of job you're looking for. And then you can click here if you only want recruiters to view it or all LinkedIn members. So if it's only recruiters, then only recruiters can see it. And there's actually a version of LinkedIn that recruiters buy that's called LinkedIn Recruiter. And so recruiters will use this literally as their homepage as they go to recruit for certain roles. They'll have in their recruiter homepage listings that come up of talent that align with the different roles that they are recruiting for. So this is how you can get found by recruiters. Now, I'm not looking for a job, so I'm not clicking that. But if I were, that would be a great place for me to sort of flag my profile. So then the next section you're going to want to look at is the about section. So this is telling me that my about is looking good because I have content in the about section, and that's right here. So what did I put in there? I put a summary statement about who I am and what my skills are. And then here I put, I'm a global career development facilitator. That's a certification that I have through the National Career Development Association. And then I put what my Clifton strengths are. These are important to me because I use them for coaching. And we also use them for the work that we're doing in building out the business incubator. So these are important to me in my career. So essentially, if I were going to be looking for a job, pretty much any of the phrases in here could potentially be keywords. So I wrote that out in a way that makes sense and is true to me. And LinkedIn, when I clicked on that, it says, tells me I'm looking good. So thank you, I'm looking good. All right, so featured. So what's that? This is all of the things that you do on LinkedIn. Now, I'm not big onto posting articles or generating a lot of content around myself or Business Central under the featured. So there's not a lot of activity here for me, but this is something you could actively seek to build out if you wanted to establish your brand as a thought leader in a particular area. You could publish your own articles, you could link to other web content or upload photos or presentations that you've done, and that will show in your profile. And then background. So here, this is an area, this is where you're going to really want to build out. So I'm just going to kind of assume that you've already built out your resume, and you're going to use this to, you're going to use your resume to help you build out your work experience. So when you get into that, it's telling me, do I want to end my position at SUNY Adirondack? No, I don't. But because I clicked on it, it wants me to add a role. So here you would add your title, the type of employment you had. It'll ask you full-time, part-time, all that, your company, your location, and your start date, end date. And then it lets you add in the content for your role. So what you're going to want to do is have your resume handy so you can copy and paste from your resume right into here. And then you can also tweak it. So if your resume has 10 bullet points and you really only want to highlight the top 3 things that you've done in each role, then you're just going to prioritize and tighten them up within here. And that's what I would recommend. You don't necessarily need to have your full resume in there. Have the most important things, the things that are most impactful, the things that you're most proud of, so that you can really demonstrate your accomplishments. And hopefully when a recruiter sees your experience, and if you look at my experience down here, you know, I've got these summary statements in some of my activities. Again, I'm not job searching, but there's enough in here that if somebody were going to recruit and wanted to find me, they'd probably find me because I've got some keywords and some accomplishments in here. So you're going to want to build this out to really reflect your resume, and that's how you do it. You do it right in here in your work experience. Your education, I've got 2 schools in my profile. I could add more if there were more. And again, it's simple fields that they're asking you to add. And you're going to want to add them so that you can not only be proud of your education, but you can also, once you get your profile built and you want to build out your network, you can look for people who also went to SUNY Adirondack, and you can ask them to connect to you, and they'll be able to find you if they're looking for someone who went to SUNY Adirondack or had a particular degree program that they had worked in. So this section up here in the add profile, this is where it's going to enable you to build out all of those other areas of your resume. Now, skills. Skills is an important area because these, again, are keywords potentially, and as somebody's looking for talent. So as a recruiter, I might have been looking for somebody who had done strategy work, leadership development work, somebody who had a perspective on client services. And again, you see that in my background, I have those key words. So it's important for you to list out some of those key skill sets that you have. But then the other thing that you can do with skills, and you'll see down here under mine, that I have some endorsements. Some people have endorsed me for skills. So here are all the skills that I have on my profile. And over the length of my career, I've had a number of different areas with the work that I've done in marketing and recruiting. And so you'll see marketing strategy. I have 21 people have recommended me for that. Marketing 20. Why is this all important? Goes back to recruiting and people being able to find you. As a recruiter, if I were looking for somebody in marketing and I saw that they had these skill sets and I saw that they had this many people saying they were good at it, I would put that person at the top of my list to recruit, to start having a conversation with. So how do you get that? Once you get your profile built, you can connect to someone. So Mike Myers was one of my previous bosses. I could ask him for if he would endorse me for skills. I personally haven't really asked for endorsements. People have found me and then endorsed me. But that is one way to do it. And it's not a bad way to do it. People have asked me to endorse them for things, and I tend to be very honest. If I would say that they were really good at coaching, I would endorse them, and then they might come back and endorse me. So it kind of goes both ways. Tools and technologies, I'm skilled at LinkedIn Recruiter. I know LinkedIn Recruiter inside and out, and LinkedIn Recruiter actually would not allow me to list this if they didn't know that I could do it. Which is kind of interesting. And then interpersonal skills, again, these are all important. So building out your skills, it's something to think about, and look at the job descriptions of the roles that you're going for and think about which ones really reflect your strengths and put those in there. And then likely your network will endorse you for them without you even asking. Okay. So skills, accomplishments. This is where if you were actively publishing on LinkedIn or have any of these types of projects or honors or awards. I don't use LinkedIn for these, but it's all good content depending on what area that you are working in and really wanting to build out your network within. Allows you to build your languages and some other areas also. So recommendations, you can ask people for recommendations. Again, here the top two, Lori was someone I placed when I was recruiting. Marisol was the woman who hired Lori. She was my client. And those two are coming up first, but I have more recommendations. I actually only asked Lori and Marisol to give me recommendations. Everybody else just sent them to me, which I thought was pretty good. But I think it's important to be able to be honest about who do you want to recommend you. And I look at Mike Myers, he was a great boss for 7 years, but I haven't worked for him for many, many years. And so I don't know how relevant the work is he could recommend me for. So, think about who do you want representing you and who might you ask for a referral. If you were out there job searching and you wanted somebody to refer you to a job or be a reference for you, who would that be? And maybe those are the folks you think about to write some references on or recommendations on LinkedIn. And then interests. So here you see who I'm following. There's influencers I follow, companies that I follow, groups that I follow, and schools that I follow. And these are all important because this is what gives me my news feed. And when I'm in particular in a group with people, if I'm seeking to network and I'm doing networking in around, say, economic development, I can see that I'm connected to 399 members on LinkedIn. I'm connected to them by virtue of a group, maybe not one-on-one, but we're both in a group. And so that enables me to send them a message because we're in the group. So send like an IM message or a LinkedIn message. And it allows me to see their content and it allows me to expand my network. So groups are important for you in that regard. And then you'll also, there will be alumni groups. So somewhere in here, I am connected to like the Skidmore Business Network, Career Connections, because I'm an alum of Skidmore. So joining those groups will help you broaden your reach within LinkedIn, and it helps you to be found by more people, and ultimately helps you to establish LinkedIn more as a place for you to network. So are there any questions on any of this information I've just shared with you regarding building out your profile?
I just have a quick question. The Clifton strengths, could you just review what those Clifton strengths are? Is that like one of those evaluation testing type things that you take?
It is. It's Gallup is the organization that does the Clifton Strengths assessment. And if you went out to gallup.com, it is an assessment you can do. It's the reason why I really like this tool as an assessment that gives you a profile of what your strengths are is because I feel like it's very practical. These are my top 5 strengths that I have here, and their tool is very well researched and validated. There are 34 strengths in their profile set, and me knowing my top 5, one of the key things about my top 5 is that a lot of them are very, they're kind of learner and strategic. A lot of it is inward and ideation, learning and moving information around. Arranger is where I take that and I start putting it into action. And knowing that about myself, I know that one of the key strengths that is not in my top 5, but that I'm best paired with is activator. And it just so happens that Brandon's top strength is activator. And so Brandon and I together as a team work really well. So knowing the background of that strengths profile for myself and the people around me enables me to know how to do handoffs of information, content, and activities when we're doing project planning. Does that answer your question, Lori?
Yes, thank you.
Anything else?
No.
All right, do you want to take it back, Brandon? How do we do that?
All right, perfect. So obviously we've already hit the what other questions do you have? But obviously just know if anyone does have any questions at any time, we of course encourage you to reach out with those questions. We want to make sure that we get those answered and provide you the most support that we can. Ooh. Our next session, actually, Lori, came from you. We're going to do a session on pivoting in your career. This is another area Bonnie has a ton of experience in and helping people to make that pivot. And what does that look like? So maybe you've been doing one thing for the last 30 years, and now you're going to do something totally different. So in our next session, we're going to focus on what that pivot looks like, how to utilize those transferable skills on your resume to make your previous experience work relevant to your upcoming potential experiences, and just kind of walk through that as a whole. Of course, we hope that you'll consider scheduling a one-on-one with us. We do it in the exact same format of the presentation that you're watching today. We would just schedule a one-on-one Zoom conversation with you, and we can go through really just about anything. We can sit down and go over a LinkedIn profile with you. We can do screen sharing back and forth, and kind of walk through what that would look like or how you can best utilize that platform and some of Bonnie's tips and tricks. We can also go over a resume, a cover letter. We can do anything that we would typically do in our office, right from different online platforms, and we're happy to do so. So please consider scheduling a one-on-one meeting with us. Finally, we hope that you'll join us on social media. We're having a ton of fun with it, so feel free to check it out. Does anyone have any last questions or anything before we wrap it up?
I do.
Okay.
So when I've been on